Caitlyn Clark or Steph Curry? Who's the better shooter?
The better shooter? I mean, I don't think there's a better shooter than Steph Curry, but if anybody can give him a run for their money, it's got to be Caitlyn Clark.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is the No BullSh, Just BullFit Podcast. I'm the co-founder, Josh Graves, and Ben, would you like to introduce yourself? We'll start off with Ben here.
Yeah, I'm another co-founder of BullFit, and I'm excited to be on, so thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, yeah.
We're excited to have you.
Todd the pharmacist here, everybody.
What's up, guys? Happy to be back. Excited for this one.
And we've got our guest today, Crew Wakley. How's it going, man?
I can't complain. Things are going good. So just finished up spring ball. Obviously, I play football at BYU, so I'm excited to be here. This is legit. You guys know I do my own podcast, but it's nowhere near as legit as this one. So everybody always comes on my podcast. They're like, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous about? And then I get here. I'm like, okay, now I know how they feel. So
being on the other end.
Yeah.
Well, we're stoked to have you. And to start off, we know, but we want to tell our audience, you played multiple sports in high school.
Yeah.
First off, which sports were they?
Yeah.
And then how do you feel playing multiple sports helped in your development, specifically for football?
So I played football, basketball, and I ran track. I tried baseball my senior year. That was not a good plan. Like, just wasn't for me. But
so technically, you've got even a fourth sport attempted in there.
Yeah, attempted for sure.
Hey,
I tried throwing javelin too. Like, I tried it all. I just tried to dabble a little bit.
Yeah.
I like trying new things. So, dude, I wish I could still play multiple sports. Like,
Why can't you?
Well, if I could play another sport, I'd want it to be basketball. I don't want to run track. Track in college just sounds miserable. You just run for the love of running, and that's just not me. But basketball would be fun, but I'm a 6-foot white kid. Like, it just wasn't in the cards. Like, I would have to put in a lot more time, and I just wasn't doing that. But yeah, if you play multiple sports in college, you're him. So I just, they're just, with how much time it takes, like, now football's year round. Like, there's no break, there's no off season. Like, even in our off season, we have at least a workout a day. Usually we're running and lifting every day. Okay. And so it's like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if you want to go to the next level at a specific sport. It doesn't make sense to play two sports. You see even dudes like Jaron Hall, who played football and baseball. After a couple years, he ended up going strictly football, because when you really want to get to the next level, you just have to dedicate so much time. Yeah, but it's way more fun to be able to play a couple sports, have an off season, get away from football for a little bit, play some hoops. But
so between basketball, track, and football, how do you think basketball and track, specifically in high school, kind of helped you develop your game as a football player to lead you to the college level?
I mean, track I would do specifically for football, right? Cool. Top end speed, acceleration. Obviously, that's important. Basketball, side-to-side quickness. Just working like defensive slides and having those different movements helped me a lot. That was one of my, I guess you call it my gifts when I was playing. Like, I played quarterback in high school, and anybody who like watched me knew I was very elusive and had a very quick side-to-side movement, and I still do. And I think a lot of that's because I played basketball. Right. And you just do so many more movements that you can't develop if you aren't playing a different sport. So I'm all in. I remember when I was in, it's probably middle school, my dad showed me this stat that Urban Meyer only recruited, like, it was like 90-something% of his recruits were multi-sport athletes. Dang. And so, like, from then I was like, that's what I got to do. Because I was like, when you're a kid, you think you got to, like, I'm just going to focus on football, which is dumb. Like, when you're in high school, play as many sports as you can, have fun with it. And so, yeah, he showed me that stat, and then I was sold ever since.
I actually think that's huge, because nowadays I feel like we get our kids into sports at like 4 and 5, and then that's all they're doing if they hope to play at that college level. So it's actually refreshing to hear. Maybe stay open to other sports, because you're going to learn different movements, different exercises. So that's really cool. I haven't heard that. Yeah. Coming from a college athlete, like, and I have little kids. Yeah, that's huge. No, so I appreciate you sharing that.
And we were actually in film the other day. I think it might have been, I don't know when it was, a couple months ago. We're watching film with Jay Hill, our defensive coordinator. He's also the safeties coach. And he was talking about, I don't know who it was, but he's like, I used to work with this guy. He was a safeties coach, and he would only recruit safeties who had played baseball.
Interesting.
Because they know how to catch, like, they know how to play the ball. Because you're catching fly balls. Like, you're never going to see a ball like that in football that's that high and you have to judge. But if you have that skill, it makes playing the ball so much easier in football.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You don't really, it's something you don't think about, but when you hear it, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
It does. That's it's very refreshing to hear. Very cool.
I heard that multi-sport athletes have lower injury rates as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Something about
Very interesting.
cross-training builds your body the right way and helps protect you, whereas
Yeah.
doing the same thing year-round can...
You build deficiencies when you're only doing one thing, and that's kind of the same way I was able to develop like a lateral movement. It's because I'm developing muscles in different areas that you aren't necessarily working when you play football, but are still good to have. So
Wow.
helps you, like, injury prevention's huge. So yeah, 100% it helps with that.
It's
Very
crazy.
cool. Yeah,
It's
it's
cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
You work out for explosive movements right now. You were telling me earlier that you're
Yeah.
focusing on that. How has BullFit helped you out with your explosive competitive edge?
So the thing about explosiveness, and like, in order to train explosive, you have to be working out at 100%. Like, you aren't getting more explosive if you're training an explosive movement at 50%, right? It just doesn't, like, the science isn't there. And so if you aren't getting
You're talking about your fast twitch muscles?
your fast twitch, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you're gonna do obviously a lower rep, like max effort when you're training your explosive movements. And so if you aren't able to output max effort, you're really just, I don't want to say wasting your time, but you aren't maximizing, right?
Sure.
So for me, I'm a big caffeine guy. So like the pre-workout,
Same.
it's huge, right? So it's like, if I can recover in between sets and I can make sure that I'm having max output every rep, it's really going to help me like get that edge in my explosiveness. And that's huge, because so much in football happens within 10 yards, just like in a 10-yard
yeah.
box. So
10 yards, 1 yard, every inch counts, right?
it's like, and you're just so like, another interesting thing is, so in football, we have these GPSs in the back of our pads, and they track how fast.
No.
Yeah. So
what,
it tracks
in practice or in...
in practice and workouts
Oh
and
my
games,
gosh.
all of it. They gave this stat after our first game last year at Sam Houston, and none of our corners exceeded 20 miles an hour in the game. And our sports scientist was like, this is the first time I've ever had that happen. And he was sharing it as a positive thing, because as a corner, that means that you played with great technique and you were never in like a oh shit moment. You know what I'm saying? If you're hitting full speed in football, more often than not, it means, especially from the defensive side, you're getting burned. Like, you're turning and running like, oh crap, my receiver just beat me. So there's not a lot of times where you really hit top speed. And so being able to work within a small box and be explosive and quick, not taking a long time to get to your top speed, is huge. So
they're accelerating,
Yeah.
but they're not getting out of position. And
exactly. They're working
Stay in
here.
position. You got to stay balanced, right?
Yeah, balance is huge.
So to take that one step further, what kind of exercises are you doing for that explosive movement?
Let's say you're trying to just build big legs. You're
Yeah.
going to do like a deep squat with like maybe an isometric at the bottom, or like a slow decel, right?
Okay.
Versus here, what we'll do is we'll like put chains on or bands attached to the bar, and we're down and out as quick as possible.
Okay.
And we actually have these, it's like a camera that's on top of the rack, and it tracks our bar speed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Holy-
like the science is
what
crazy
in
these
the
days.
world?
So it's like, when we're working out, rather than being like, okay, start at 225, bump up to here, it's like, start at 225, and then you have this range you're supposed to be in. If you're low, if you're below the range, and it tells you after every rep, okay, you need to remove weight, and you need to be moving the bar quicker.
Dang.
What?
Versus if you're if you're over that range, okay, let's add some weight, because you can move. You have more in
Yeah.
you.
So you take Bodacious, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the role that plays in your training routine and how it affects your performance? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said earlier, I'm a big caffeine guy. So
Yeah.
just right there, that's good for me. But for me, it's like just kind of part of the routine, where a lot of times you wake up and it's like, if you wake up and you're like, hey, am I going to work out or not? You're not going to work out, right? So the night before I decide we're working out, wake up, even if you don't feel like it, you rip the Bodacious, and then you're good to go. But
I love it.
I like the creatine. I like for me, it helps. Like, a lot of people supplement with creatine. I take this, and I don't feel like I have to add another like side supplement of creatine. Just kind of helps me get more water into my muscles, helps me not get as tired during my workouts. And like we were talking about, that like explosive training that I do, it's a game changer for that. And it's something that, like, for me, it's a necessity. I have to have those like as part of my workout routine.
Yeah, I don't know how people wake up and go to the gym without it.
Like I tried to go to our run yesterday with no caffeine. I'm like, oh, it's just a little run. Puked everywhere. I couldn't do it. I just I was tired. I was dead. I was like, I've never had this happen to me. So you got to get some caffeine in the system.
Yeah, it's like motivation in a bottle.
Exactly.
Wake up, even if you're feeling like crap, you pound it, and
You'll be good to go.
Okay, so What do you think about the flavor? Okay, let me back up. We've got Cowabunga, we got Bodacious. Bodacious is blue raspberry. Blue raspberry. Let's go, bro. That's because we're cool, man.
I know, I like that. I saw that. blue Riz. That was the first thing I noticed when I got a bottle. I was like, oh, blue raspberry. Yeah.
Oh,
that was the first thing I
Way
noticed.
to go, Ben.
No,
That was my little brother's idea. Shout out Sam.
I actually like it a lot. That was smart. No, but it's good because, like, I've tried a million pre-workouts, and, like, it kind of goes back to that thing where it's like, if it tastes terrible, and now it's like, not only do I not want to work out, but now I don't want to drink my pre-workout either. So it's like, now it's like, it just makes it even harder to get to the gym. So having a good flavor is huge, and I like the Blue Riz for sure.
I love it.
It's all natural, too, on the flavoring. So no aftertaste. You shouldn't get sick or anything like that.
Right.
You probably don't notice, but it's definitely helping in the background there.
Yeah, because then you don't have that taste in your mouth the whole time you're working out.
Yeah.
Like, when it's like sitting back there and you're like, yeah, no, it's no bueno. So.
And how do you feel after your workout, after taking Bodacious?
That's the thing I've noticed. I don't feel like a big decline of, like, crash. Like, obviously, after the workout, you're dead because if you worked out hard. But there's not that, like, mental crash for me. And that's what's huge. Right. Like, your body's going to be tired. But not having the mental, like, crash makes it so you can work out hard and then go throughout your day and not be, like, dragging ass.
Well, and I think one of the worst things is when you wake up, if you hit like a morning workout like I do, but then the rest of your day is kind of shot because you spent everything in the gym. It's like, I'm still a dad, I'm still a husband, I still have to go be a pharmacist. Like, if I'm using all my energy in the gym and then I'm useless the rest of the day, it's like, what's the point of going to the gym, right? Exactly. I'm not a professional bodybuilder. I'm not getting paid to do this. Right. So it's like, if you can go to the gym, crush a workout to where you're exhausted, but then still have that energy and the mental capacity to go through your daily activities, game changer.
Hey, can you shed some color on why Crew is feeling better throughout the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Pharmacist Todd?
Because most pre-workouts, you get a pretty hard crash.
That's how I feel. After the workout, I'm just mentally exhausted. I usually go straight for another shot of caffeine after my workout to kind of get me to work. But one thing we did in the Bodacious and the Cowabunga, we put in some very specific ingredients to help maintain that cognitive performance throughout the whole day. And I've talked about it before, but one of my favorites is called L-tyrosine, just an amino acid, but it peaks in our bloodstream after we supplement 1 to 2 hours after taking it. So either towards the end of your workout, or some of us in the middle of our workout, we're getting that peak of it, and then it takes multiple hours to run through our system.
So it's all day.
So it's all day. So it can actually last up to 8 hours in our bloodstream as it's crossing the blood-brain barrier and turning into very specific neurotransmitters for motivation, for mood, for focus, and for energy.
What about the choline, bro?
So Josh is a huge choline fan, as am I. But choline, once again, the form that we used doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier quickly. So it gets absorbed into the bloodstream and it stays in the body for a long period of time. Some of it gets absorbed into the brain, where it's then converted to a later neurotransmitter, helps once again memory, focus, but as it stays in the bloodstream, it's actually helping with muscle contractions for the workout, and it helps improve liver health. But once again, we've used ingredients that don't just zip right to the brain, turn into those neurotransmitters, we use them up, and then we're dead. It stays in our bloodstream for an extended period of time, so we're utilizing those benefits long past the workout.
That's fire.
Hey, dude, what is your top speed? I'm just curious. You said 20 miles per hour. I'm like, I have no idea what.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've done, like, my top speed.
Or
the other day I was running some.
Compare you to a dinosaur for Josh. Yeah. How fast can you run?
Like a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus speed? There's a big difference.
Yeah, there is a big difference.
Or a raptor speed?
Raptors are pretty quick.
I don't know what my top speed is right now. Coming off an injury, I didn't run a lot in the winter, and so I was just kind of getting back into things. And so the other day I hit 20 something. I don't remember exactly what it was. So I was in the 20s, which was my goal last year, was to get into the 20s. So being at the 20s right now is good for me, and then obviously hopefully just increase that through the summer.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's fast.
20s.
Yeah.
Okay. That GPS is blowing my mind.
That's so cool.
I had no idea they were tracking you like that.
Yeah, so like an interesting thing is the combine, the NFL combine, where you go run your 40 and all that.
Yeah.
So it's actually more of a media production than, like, teams don't actually care as much about your 40 as the NFL makes it up to be, because it's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
But even at the combine, they have the GPSs. And so what they're going to look at is they're going to look at your in-drill speed more than your 40 speed. Because how much does a 40 really translate to football? We've always talked about it doesn't. Right?
That's the funnest thing to watch it.
But it's fun to watch it, right? Is he going to hit the 4.3? Is he going to get sub 4.4?
Just broke it, right?
Yeah. So we played him this year, and he was fast.
What position does he play again?
He plays receiver and punt returner.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He did, what was it, 4.3 or?
4.2 something.
4.2.
I don't know what it was, but it was fast.
Yeah, he broke it. So you're a geography major at BYU, is this correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh,
now,
awesome.
You're originally a finance major, right?
Yeah, so I was a finance major when I was at Utah State. And then when I transferred down to BYU, I had done like 2 years of it at Utah State. And I had taken, I had taken like 2 accounting classes, 2 econ, finance, all the classes, right? And then when I transferred down, they were like, yeah, you're still 3 years away from graduating. I was like, I'm not going to college for 3 more years. I was like, okay, what's the quickest degree? Like, when can I graduate the quickest with the lightest workload? Oh, yeah. She's like, geography or history. I'm like, I look at it and then like just end up that geography lined up with my schedule. So I'm a geography major. But
so get that baby done.
So starting at Utah State, you played football there.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things did you learn or develop while at USU that helped carry you down to BYU that you're utilizing today?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. I think one of the there was a lot of things I learned from my coaches there for sure. And I think that was probably the number one thing is, so I went through 3 coaching staffs while I was there.
Interesting.
So I was recruited by Matt Wells and his staff. They left while I was on my mission. Then when I got there, it was Coach Gary Anderson, and there were still some leftovers from the old staff. Mm-hmm. Like the dude that actually came in and recruited me was still there. And then halfway through my first year, it was COVID. They got fired. All of them gone. Whole fresh new staff in. I sent them on my 3rd coaching staff, and I haven't even used a year of eligibility yet. And so I think just having all those different coaches, you just like learn things from different people. And even if they're teaching the same thing, if they say it in a different way, like sometimes it just hits a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
So I learned a lot of things just about the defense, because growing up I played quarterback, right? Growing up I played a couple different positions, but in high school I played quarterback. Mm-hmm. So having to learn the defensive side was like really different for me. Okay. And so just learning some of your base principles, I learned a lot from those guys just to kind of give me a good foundation. Mm-hmm. And then when I got here, Coach Hill, he taught me a lot about like some of the more like intricate details. Big thing is how to break down film. That's one thing I've learned here that I didn't learn in the past. Mm-hmm. But some of your base principles in football, like I remember one thing my coach used to always say at Utah State is, as a defensive player, if there's someone in front of you, there's someone behind you. So like, let's say they have a route concept going on. If there's an under route running right in front of me, if I take that under route, they're going to throw the dig right behind me. Like that's common football 101. And so like, that's something every time I see that, like that comes like, it pops cool. Just because he said it so much, right? If there's something in front of you, there's something behind you. Mm-hmm. So I remember that a lot. That's one of the number one things I remember. I don't know why, but
no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, you had a injury, a torn labrum.
Yeah.
How did that recovery process? What did that look like, and how has that challenge helped you overcome and grow?
So yeah, I tore my labrum and my bicep tendon actually. So I dislocated my shoulder twice during the season. I just played with it. But they do an MRI, and going into the surgery, I thought I had torn so your labrum's a full 360 degree, it holds your shoulder in place. And so when I dislocated, I had torn it. Mm-hmm. And so they thought I had torn it about that much. And then they get in to do the surgery. It's supposed to be a 45-minute surgery, ended up being 2 hours because I had torn it like 3/4 of the way around, and I had torn my bicep tendon off. Dang. So I had to do a whole lot of repair in there. But it's actually kind of been like a blessing in disguise, just because it's allowed me to like heal up. I didn't do a lot of spring ball, and so I didn't get banged up, which is nice. It's going to be nice going into summer and into fall. But it's allowed me to work on some of my, like, a lot of leg strength and my balance. I've worked on my balance a lot because it's weird. You don't think about it, but when your shoulder, like when you can't use your shoulder, you don't realize how much you compensate for things.
Sure.
And so not having my shoulder, like having a bar on my back, it's like there's no compensation there. Now I have to put it on my legs. Yeah. So like weird things like that.
So you're developing better habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just sprained my wrist snowboarding, and I can totally relate.
Yeah.
But I hit my legs 3 times a week. I'm like a girl at the gym, you know. I'm like hit it every day.
No, for real.
But yeah, your legs are the core fundamental part of your structure there. So
yeah.
And what did the recovery process look like? As far as how much time did you have to take off, and then getting back into exercising, weights, what did that look like?
So initially it was like, I think it was like 4 weeks of nothing. I was in a sling for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then it's just slowly working back in. Like it's when I first got out of the sling, I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like this thing is so tight, especially since Doc cinched it down extra because of all the, all the damage that was done. And so it starts off by just getting mobility back. Then once you start getting range of motion, okay, now let's build the strength. And then it's like, okay, like how do we get that last bit of range of motion back? So I'm like 90% right now, 95.
Okay.
And so like my rehab right now, like a big thing I do is hang from a bar, because it's like I'm trying to get that last bit of like range of motion.
Yeah.
And so just hanging from a bar, which sucks. It's a lot
Sounds
harder than it sounds. Yeah, very uncomfortable.
I tried the other day. I'm like, I'm going to go a whole minute, no problem. I see all these guys on YouTube.
Doesn't sound too hard.
I'm 15 seconds in. I'm like, okay, no.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, same. I was going to do a pull-up. I was just hanging there, and yeah, it was enough for me.
Yeah.
You got half a pull-up.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
I'm
brutal.
curious, Todd. How can BullFit help with his recovery, or how does it help with his recovery?
So that's a great question. So for what we have right now, we've got the 2 pre-workouts, a couple of the big ingredients that really help the recovery process. So the first one, which most people are familiar with, are creatine. Not only for fat burning, muscle building, cognitive benefits, the recovery process that it allows is huge. We've also got the betaine in there, which is going to help hydrate the cells. It also has shown to help in the recovery process as well. So I'm a little biased, of course,
Right.
but we do have specific ingredients within our product, not only to help with that performance, but also to help the recovery process, whether that's from recovering from a killer workout or even recovering from, an injury. So then after that mobility, stretching, when it comes to strength training, what kind of strength training are you doing right now to get that shoulder back to 100%?
So lately what we've been on, so a lot of it was, at first it was rotator cuff.
Okay.
So, your internal, external band.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do that as a warm up. I've done so many of those this winter. But right now, I'm kind of at the point where we're really working. So like stuff you do in the gym, shoulder raises, lateral raises, and then like heavy, eccentric, like an overload where it's like my Terrence, he's my therapist. He'll like help me get it up.
Okay.
And it's heavy enough to where I can't hold it up. It's just like slowly going down.
Killer.
That one sucks. Terrible. But it's so good for me afterwards. Like my shoulder feels way better. So that's kind of been the main thing right now.
Very cool. So college football,
Yeah.
especially BYU football here, you're playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes millions of people.
Yeah.
How do you keep your mindset? How do you stay cool? Knowing that you've got so many eyes on you, how do you prep for that? And then how do you turn that into a performance in front of so many eyes?
That's a good question. So for me, I love that. Like that's one of my favorite things is like knowing that there's like stadium is full. Like I love that stuff. So kind of like I guess I don't really have to prep for it. It used to kind of psych me out a little bit when I was like in high school, the thought of like, oh, there's gonna be people there. But now I've turned it into something. It's like I used to get really anxious in high school, and it was like, okay, like if this makes me so anxious, I'm not enjoying it. So why am I feeling this way? So like when I got to college, I was like, if I'm gonna be anxious and like not be excited to play, then I shouldn't even do it. So like I need to figure out like how am I gonna make this enjoyable? And ever since then, I was just like, if I ever get anxious or nervous, I'm just like, what's the point of doing it if it's miserable for you? So it's like I just kind of relax and I just enjoy it, and I've changed my mindset and turned it into something that's just like I just love it. And ever since then, I've just like,
That's powerful.
the more people, the better for me now. So rather than like
Nice.
it being something that most people get nervous about, it's like I don't get nervous for games. Like I just told myself that until it became a thing, I guess.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
That was
huge.
cool.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that'll carry you
Oh,
big time in life. And that psychology is massive.
Well, and just the noise and like when I go to these games, you have to wear earplugs.
Yeah,
Like it's
loud.
so noisy. Like to maintain your cool, your focus, to know the routes, to know what to do, to make those decisions so quickly. All mindset.
Do you guys
Like-
ever have trouble hearing the plays? Speaking of the noise,
I can't hear my dad next to me talking,
Yeah.
let alone a
Yeah,
play.
for sure. So like luckily these days almost everything's obviously if coach is signaling in a play, it's hand signals, right? But there's a lot of on-field communication, like, with the corner, with the linebackers. And so that can get tough for sure. But I don't know. It's at the same time, it's like when it's that loud, I don't know, you're just in the moment. It's just exciting. Like third down, whatever, fourth down, like
Yeah.
That's cool. So it gets me excited to
that's
think
sweet.
about it.
Yeah, that's way cool. I love it. So you're playing college football, which is a full-time job in and of itself. You're married. You're going to school to get a degree.
Yeah.
How do you balance your life? How do you take, with so many things going on, and find time for even the smaller things but are still important?
It's a good question. I used to always wonder this too, because there was this class I took right when I got to BYU. I think everybody has to take it, at least whatever program I was in had to take it. And it's a lecture class where they have CEOs come talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool because you just sit there in an auditorium and just listen. I remember after one of our I don't remember the dude's name, but after he gave the lecture, I went and asked him the same question. And it's kind of like, how do you balance, but then also how do you handle stress? Because it's very stressful when you have a lot on your plate, right?
For sure.
And so he's like, it's like a muscle. You have to learn how to like build your stress tolerance. And so like for me, I kind of, whenever I'm stressed out or like feel like I have a lot, I'm like, I look at it as like, okay, most people be like, oh, I'm stressed out, I got anxiety, whatever. For me, it's like, okay, this is cool because I'm learning how to handle this, and I'm learning how to navigate, this entrepreneurial world, right? Because like if I want to go be an entrepreneur one day and own a big company, this is nothing. I'm gonna have to learn, like there's gonna be so much on my plate. So for me, I kind of look at it like that. It's almost like preparation for my future. And then the other thing is when I'm with my I try to be present wherever I am. Cool. So if I'm playing football, I'm playing football. If I'm with my wife, like I'm with my wife. And that's one thing, like with phones these days, it's so hard to do. Yeah. Weekly date night is huge for us. We always do that. And just, I think the biggest thing for me is just being in the moment and just like wherever my feet are, that's where I try to be. So cool. The quality time over quantity time, I think, is the key for me.
So wise, this guy.
I know, right?
I'm learning a lot. Way to go, brother.
I've watched a lot of videos, so I just know the quotes, what I'm supposed to say, I guess.
Well, you're nailing them right on the head. It's perfect.
Plagiarizing.
Exactly. That's all I'm doing.
No, that's awesome.
Hey, Caitlyn Clark, did you catch her 30 points?
Caitlyn Clark is crazy. She's the best woman basketball player I've ever seen.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, oh gosh, this is cool to watch.
Because you've seen girls who are good for girls, but she's like, the way she moves, the way she shoots, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time where I've like watched women's basketball, and she was solid.
Her logo shots are crazy.
Well, Sunday night
pulled up on
championship game, South Carolina undefeated. They ended up winning. They were just dominant. But there were almost 19 million views, 18.7 million views, and they weren't, no disrespect to South Carolina, they were phenomenal. There was only one name that people turned on that TV for. That was Caitlyn Clark, setting records left and right.
For sure.
So I completely agree with you. She's unreal, and I've never really followed women's basketball either, unfortunately. But I've been following her all season. This is kind of sad. I can't tell you one man's name in the NCAA this whole tournament. I don't know one individual as far as their name, how good they are. I followed Caitlyn Clark. If I missed a game, I was checking out highlights. Right. Sunday night, my wife's putting on the game, and we're watching with my kids women's basketball. I feel like she's really changing the game.
That's the key right there, changing the game.
Yeah. I mean, she had the most points in NCAA history, male or female, right? I mean, this is incredible.
More than the males?
Yeah. She set the record.
She set the overall
record. I did not
record.
know that.
She's a machine.
30 points is the record?
Insane.
No.
Was that right?
Overall
she scored
career.
30 points in the championship game. But
for
the
the
whole career,
she
just set a record.
Points.
So kind of like you got LeBron James in the NBA, you got Caitlyn Clark in the NCAA.
I'm wondering what LeBron James' points were for the full time in the NCAA compared to hers.
He went straight to the pros.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he didn't make it there.
He has 0 points. Caitlyn has way more
That's what's
points.
so impressive. You go from 0 points to 40,000. You're gonna make headlines.
Okay.
But being a college athlete yourself, how do you feel? I mean, since we're talking about Caitlyn Clark here, being a college athlete, how do you feel she's really changed the game for women's, not just college basketball? We're talking just sports and basketball.
Yeah, I think it's have you heard the minute mile analogy where they talk about like for the longest time? I don't know what the number was, but they couldn't. It was humanly impossible to break. Yep. I feel like she just did that for like women's basketball.
Love
it's
that.
like now, it's kind of like same thing Curry did. No one was shooting deep threes before Curry, well except for Jimmer, right? Jimmer was first, but no, it's like now you're gonna see
BYU throwback.
Hopefully her career's a little different.
BYU and the Shanghai Sharks. No,
so it's like I feel like she just did that for women's basketball and kind of all of basketball. It's like when someone hits new heights, it's like you just open up a whole new like I don't know, a whole new opportunity for like
totally
whole new
agree.
possibility, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Oh yeah,
because the 4-minute mile is crazy. It was like 1 year or a couple of years.
Yeah,
it's like nobody could do it,
yeah.
and then like I don't know the numbers.
Several people,
50 people did it.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as you can break that barrier and people know it's possible, then people just start shattering those records.
Yeah,
but until you get to that point,
it's the mental things.
Incredible.
It's like working biceps with this guy. Like, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was possible.
That's how I feel when I do legs with
200. Thank you.
Well, final question. Who do you think's better, Caitlyn Clark or Steph Curry? Who's the better shooter?
The better shooter? I mean, I don't think there's a better shooter than Steph Curry, but if anybody can give them a run for their money, it's got to be Caitlyn Clark. So
I like that answer.
It'd be crazy to see them in a 3-point contest.
It would.
Predicting the future, I think they're going to do something along those lines.
Yeah.
Where they get the two of them. Yep.
No way they don't.
Good answer. I completely agree with the way you said that. Very politically smart, and I think spot on.
Good. I'm glad.
He's showing that maturity, that intelligence.
Exactly. I feel like I've learned a lot just talking to you this time. This has been awesome.
This guy's very PC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Crew, thank you so much for coming on. And can you give a little bit, tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. Most of my socials are just Crew Wakley. So Instagram Crew Wakley, Twitter Crew Wakley.
Well, that's easy enough.
Easy enough, yeah. Laced Up Pod is my podcast. So if you guys want to check that out, I usually have
some
BYU football players and some other people on there.
Now, where can we listen or where can we watch?
YouTube, Spotify, and then the Instagram. I'll post a couple clips a week from each episode. So on the Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio, and it'll give you the options. So
right on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a blast.
Yeah,
awesome. Appreciate it.
We've had a great time. Thanks, man.